Zhuangzhou. Zhuangzhou/Dudo/ commonly known as Zhuangzi/Weizi/ Chinese, literally Master Zhuang, also rendered as Chuangzi, was an influential Chinese philosopher who lived around the 4th century BC during the Warring States period, a period corresponding to the summit of Chinese philosophy, the Hundred Schools of Thought. He is credited with writing, in part or in whole, a work known by his name, the Zhuangzi, which is one of the foundational texts of Taoism. Life. The only account of the life of Zhuangzi is a brief sketch in chapter 63 of Sima Qian's Records of the Grand Historian, and most of the information it contains seems to have simply been drawn from anecdotes in the Zhuangzi itself. In Sima's biography, he is described as a minor official from the town of Meng, in modern Anhui, in the state of Song, living in the time of King Hui of Liang and King Xuan of Qi, late 4th century BC. Sima Qian writes. The validity of his existence has been questioned. Russell Kirkland, who writes. However, Sima Qian's biography of Zhuangzi predates Guoxiang, by centuries. Furthermore, the Han Chu Yi Wenzi, monograph on literature, lists a text Zhuangzi, showing that a text with this title existed no later than the early 1st century AD, again predating Guoxiang by centuries. Writings. Zhuangzi is traditionally credited as the author of at least part of the work bearing his name, the Zhuangzi. This work, in its current shape consisting of 33 chapters, is traditionally divided into 3 parts. The first, known as the inner chapters, consists of the first 7 chapters, the second, known as the outer chapters, consist of the next 15 chapters, the last, known as the mixed chapters, consist of the remaining 11 chapters. The meaning of these 3 names is disputed. According to Guoxiang, the inner chapters were written by Zhuangzi, the outer chapters written by his disciples, and the mixed chapters by other hands. The other interpretation is that the names refer to the origin of the titles of the chapters. The inner chapters take their titles from phrases inside the chapter, the outer chapters from the opening words of the chapters, and the mixed chapters from a mixture of these 2 sources. Further study of the text does not provide a clear choice between these alternatives. On the one side, as Martin Palmer points out in the introduction to his translation, 2 of the 3 chapters Sima Qian cited in his biography of Zhuangzi come from the outer chapters and the third from the mixed chapters. Neither of these are allowed as authentic Zhuangzi chapters by certain purists, yet they breathe the very spirit of Zhuangzi just as much as, for example, the famous butterfly passage of chapter 2. On the other hand, chapter 33 has been often considered as intrusive, being a survey of the major movements during the 100 schools of thought with an emphasis on the philosophy of Hui Shi. Further, A.C. Graham and other critics have subjected the text to a stylistic analysis and identified 4 saint reigns of thought in the book: a. the ideas of Zhuangzi or his disciples; b. a primitivist strain of thinking similar to Laojia in chapters 8 to 10 and the first half of chapter 11; c. a strain very strongly represented in chapters 28 to 31 which is attributed to the philosophy of Yang Chu; and d. a 4th strain which may be related to the philosophical school of Wang Lao. In this spirit, Martin Palmer wrote that trying to read Zhuangzi sequentially is a mistake. The text is a collection, not a developing argument. Zhuangzi was renowned for his brilliant wordplay and use of parables to convey messages. His critiques of Confucian society and historical figures are humorous and at times ironic. Influence. Zhuangzi has influenced thinking far beyond East Asia. The German philosopher Martin Buber translated his texts in 1910. In 1930, Martin Heidegger asked for Buber's translation of Zhuangzi after his Bremen speech on the essence of truth. In order to explain his own philosophy, Heidegger read from chapter 17, where Zhuangzi says to the thinker Hui Shi. The historian of ideas Dagur Bjornsrud concludes, it may therefore be difficult to say where the philosophies of Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi end and where the most influential German thinking of the 20th century starts. In the beginning, 859, of the film The Matrix, 1999, the lead character Neo asks his visitors whether they had the feeling where they were not sure if they are awake or dreaming. This is a reference to Zhuangzi's butterfly dream. Now I do not know whether I was then a man dreaming I was a butterfly, or whether I am now a butterfly, dreaming I am a man. Biological evolution. In a passage in his writings, Zhuangzi described the transmutation of species. In the complete works of Zhuangzi, translated by Burton Watson, it is stated that the 20th century Chinese philosopher and essayist Hu Shi considered Zhuangzi a Chinese forerunner of evolution.